Hello everyone, welcome to Bisveria channel. Today we are going to learn about the interface endpoint और इसमें हम theoretical part देखेंगे starting में और उसके बाद फिर हम इसमें hands on करेंगे. So let's get started. So what is interface VPC endpoint? An interface VPC endpoint enables you to connect to services powered by AWS Power Link. These services include some AWS services hosted by other AWS customer and partner in their own VPC. यानी कि अगर कोई थर्ड पार्टी है वो सॉफ्टवेयर एज ए सर्विसेज अपना कोई सॉफ्टवेयर आप शेयर कर रहा है जिसको आप एक्सेस करना चाह रहे हैं तो वो भी आप प्राइवेट लिंक के ज़रिए आप उसको एक्सेस कर सकते हैं. एंड सपोर्टेड AWS मार्केट प्लेस पार्टनर सर्विसेज. तो क्या है कि AWS मार्केट प्लेस के अंदर जैसे गूगल प्ले के अंदर बहुत सारी एप्लीकेशंस अवेलेबल होती हैं, इसी तरह AWS मार्केट प्लेस के अंदर पार्टनर सर्विसेज के नाम से जो कुछ लोगों ने अपने सॉफ्टवेयर बना के रखे हुए हैं. अगर आपकी रिक्वायरमेंट है कि यू वांट यूज़ दैट वन ऑफ दैट सॉफ्टवेयर, अगेन यू कैन यूज़ द इंटरफेस VPC एंड पॉइंट. तो जो कनेक्टिविटी होती है ये VPC इंटरफेस एंड पॉइंट की, वो होती है थ्रू दिस टेक्नोलॉजी कॉल AWS Power Link. What is the Power Link? Power Link provide private connectivity between VPCs and services hosted on AWS or on premises. जैसा कि SNS सर्विस है, SQS सर्विस है. अगर आपका सिस्टम इस किस्म की सर्विसेज को रीच करना चाह रहा है तो उसको जो कनेक्टिविटी है तो वो आप प्राइवेट लिंक के ज़रिए कर सकते हैं. By providing a private endpoint to access your services, AWS Private Link ensures your traffic is not exposed to the public internet. इसका मतलब ये है कि जब ये कनेक्टिविटी जो है ये विद इन रीजन जब आप सर्विसेज को यूटिलाइज कर रहे हैं यूजिंग द इंटरफेस VPC endpoint which is using the AWS Private Link टेक्नोलॉजी, तो आपकी जो ट्रैफिक है वो इंटरनेट पे नहीं जा रही, वो विद इन दी AWS नेटवर्क के अंदर ही रहती है. दूसरा ये है कि AWS Power Link makes it easy to connect services across different accounts. फॉर एग्ज़ाम्पल अगर किसी कंपनी के अंदर 2-3 अकाउंट हैं, फॉर एग्ज़ाम्पल फाइनेंस डिपार्टमेंट है उनका अपना VPC है, HR का अपना VPC है. So this kind of environment they can actually use the different account across many VPCs जो कि एक VPC से दूसरी VPC के अंदर जो कनेक्टिविटी होती है उसके लिए भी आप प्राइवेट लिंक और इंटरफेस VPC एंड पॉइंट को यूज़ करते हो. सो इस आर्किटेक्ट में अगर आप देखें तो इसमें हमारे पास रीजन है AWS रीजन, और रीजन के अंदर हमारे पास एक सर्विस रन कर रही है जिसको हम कहते हैं अमेज़न किनेसिस स्ट्रीम्स. इस सर्विस को एक्सेस करने के लिए हम दो तरह से इनको एक्सेस कर सकते हैं. इस VPC के अंदर हमारे पास एक सबनेट है जिसको हम कहते हैं पब्लिक सबनेट, और दूसरा सबनेट 2 है जिसको हम कहते हैं प्राइवेट सबनेट. जो सबनेट पब्लिक सबनेट है इसके अंदर हम एक EC2 रन कर रहे हैं जो कि पब्लिक एक्सेस के लिए. लेट्स सी दिस इज़ द वेब सर्वर, और इसको हमारे पास एक प्राइवेट IP एड्रेस असाइंड है और इसको एक पब्लिक IP एड्रेस असाइन है. तो जो इंटरनेट एक्सेस के ज़रिए से इसको करने का तरीका ये है कि दिस EC2 अगर ये वांट टू रीच द किनेसिस सर्विस तो he is going to use his public IP address and then going through the internet gateway, और internet gateway को use करते हुए is going to through the internet is going to access the Amazon Kinesis stream services. So this is the one way of doing this. If you want to secure your connectivity with this Kinesis service, the second option we have is this कि इसका जो प्राइवेट IP एड्रेस है उसके ज़रिए से हम एक्सेस कर सकते हैं. वो कैसे? वी हैव टू क्रिएट द एंड पॉइंट इंटरनेट इंटरफेस इन दी प्राइवेट सबनेट. तो जब आपने प्राइवेट सबनेट के अंदर इसको क्रिएट कर लिया, then you have to go through this using the private IP address. You're going to connect this endpoint interface, network interface, and the traffic will be routed to the Amazon Kinesis stream within the AWS region, without leaving the AWS region, without using the internet connection. इसी तरह जो प्राइवेट सबनेट के अंदर ये EC2 इंस्टेंस है, अगर ये एक्सेस करना चाह रहा है तो इसको भी अपना प्राइवेट IP एड्रेस यूज़ करके थ्रू द एंड पॉइंट इंटरफेस देन गो टू द AWS Kinesis सर्विसेज. सो जब हम इस तरह का एनवायरनमेंट क्रिएट करते हैं तो जो इन द फर्स्ट ऑप्शन, इफ़ यू सी दिस ग्रीन एरोज, इन द फर्स्ट ऑप्शन आपको अपने राउट टेबल को बताना पड़ता है कि this is going to be my internet gateway and this is the traffic going to flow through the internet gateway to the internet and then is going to access the services जो कि यहाँ पड़ी हुई हैं. उसके अलावा यहाँ पे जो दूसरा डेस्टिनेशन है अगर आप देखें तो वो सबनेट 2 के अंदर द एवरीथिंग इज़ लोकल. सो ऑल द ट्रैफिक गोइंग थ्रू द लोकल interface, or this is not going to be exposed to the internet. So this is a two way of doing the access to the services within a region using the public way of doing this, public IP address and going through the internet gateway, or you can use the endpoint network interface using the private IP addresses, and the whole thing will be privately, securely connected to your services. In this case, we have Amazon Kinesis stream services. In this case, now we have removed this public IP address and public access, तो 100% जो traffic है वो private हो गई. इसमें आप देखेंगे the flow of the traffic is going through the endpoint network interface to the Kinesis, and also even on the private subnet, the traffic is going through the network interface and accessing the services on the region. And here you still say I do have this private, so now the traffic is going through this target. Everything is on the private and secure. So let's do the hands-on. देखते हैं कि interface endpoint how it works. So this is the architecture I'm going to use. I will create a VPC, and in the VPC I will have a 2 subnet. एक public subnet होगा और एक private subnet होगा. इसके अंदर हम दोनों में EC2 instances रन करेंगे. यहाँ पे इसको EC2 instance को हम public IP address देंगे और फिर उसको इंटरनेट गेटवे के साथ एक्सेस देंगे ताकि वो अपने Kinesis सर्विस को एक्सेस कर सके. So in the second part we are going to create the endpoint network interface, and then we will have a connectivity through this endpoint network interface for these both 2 EC2 instances. So I am on my VPC dashboard. I'm going to create the new VPC. I'm going to click on VPC icon, and I have one default VPC running. I'm going to create the new one. I call this my VPC, and I give the CIDR block 10.0.0.0/16, and I will leave the rest of the configuration. तो यहाँ पे create VPC. तो अब इस VPC के अंदर the next step is I'm going to create subnets. So let's go to the subnets. So I am going to create 2 more subnets. This time I'm going to use my VPC, और इसके अंदर I will say endpoint let's do this NP sub public. So let's select this one, or 10.0.0.0 /24. So I'm going to create another subnet which is going to be private subnet, और इसमें again my VPC subnet is going to be and subnet private. I'll give this 10.0.0 1/24. I will leave this. तो सबनेट अपने इसमें I have created two subnets. One is endpoint subnet private and the one is public. Let me make this the same way. So this is the endpoint public, this is the endpoint private. So let's do make this public subnet, this one endpoint public. I have to create the internet gateway. So let's create the internet gateway. So this is my internet gateway. And the next thing, I'm going to create the route table. So I have a main route table. I'm going to create one endpoint RT public, and this is going to be part of my VPC. I'm going to create, close, and then I'm going to edit. The first thing, I have to tell this route table how it is going to route the traffic. So I say 0. Everything should go through the internet gateway using the internet gateway. It's saying not found. Just a second. So when I created the internet gateway, I was supposed to attach with the VPC. So I'm going to attach this gateway with the VPC. That's the part I missed. So this is the VPC I'm going to attach. That's why it was not showing when I tried to associate with the route table. So I'm back to the route table, collect, and this time I'm going to edit. So here's the subview. So now I'm going to see my internet endpoint gateway here. So save the route, close it. And that's another part which is very important, usually forget a lot of people when they are doing this exercise. You have to associate your public subnet. So I'm going to associate my public subnet with this route table. So my public subnet has been associated with my gateway and also associated with the route table. So far so good. So we completed this part. We have created the VPC, and then when in the VPC we created the one subnet, which is a public subnet, and then we created the internet gateway, and the internet gateway, then we created the route table. For the route table, for the subnet 1 we have assigned the internet gateway with the VPC attached. And now we're going to do this part of the architect. In this part we're going to create 2 EC2 instances in each subnet, and one with the public IP address. The second one will have only the private IP address. Then we're going to create this endpoint. Let's get started. तो इसमें हम देखते हैं कि going to the next. So name, I will say endpoint etc private, और इसको हम एक्सेस करेंगे. Let's make this like 10.0/24 से. So let's access this endpoint public. I'm going to use this IP address. So first thing we need our private key. तो इसको पब्लिक EC2 कंस्टेंट्स को कनेक्ट करने के लिए I will go here, copy this command, and then I'll go to my task command, and I will say yes. So I am into the public EC2. So यहाँ पे now I will create a file जो कि की फाइल है. उस की फाइल को यहाँ पे सेव करना है ताकि जब हम प्राइवेट EC2 को कनेक्ट करें then we have to tell the system use this key. So in order to do this we have to bring the जो की है उसको यहाँ पे सेव करना पड़ेगा. तो उसके लिए क्या है, I will call ep underscore key dot pem. तो उसके लिए जो की हमने डाउनलोड की थी उसको हम कॉपी, सेलेक्ट ऑल, देन कंट्रोल C. उसके बाद यहाँ पे आके हम माउस का राइट जो है वो क्लिक कर देंगे. सो वंस वी हैव दिस, हम शिफ्ट कॉलन WQ और फिर हम एंटर कर देंगे. सो नेक्स्ट पार्ट जो है वो वी हैव टू गिव दी change the on permission level on this key, which is this key. और अब हम we will see the permission on this. So we have a read permission. Let's see. So So now I'm going to grab the connection with my other EC2 instance, और यहाँ पे हम आएंगे और यहाँ पे हम सेलेक्ट करेंगे प्राइवेट इंस्टेंस, और ये वाला IP एड्रेस जो प्राइवेट IP एड्रेस है इसको लेंगे. Well, I can also do this way. I can go there, I can copy the whole command, come back, and I'm going to do this. So it's asking, say yes. So it's saying permission is not, so I'm going to change the permission on the key. Let me do that. So now we are into the private EC2 instance. If you look at this, the IP address is 10.0.1.143. So this is the address we have. I am connected to this private machine. So our architect, we use the public EC2 instance to get into this private instance, which is sitting on the private subnet. तो private subnet के अंदर हमने create किया था EC2 instance, अब मैं उसके साथ connected हूँ. So here we are. I was connected to this EC2 instance using the public IP address. Then I'm connected to this EC2 instance using the SSH. अब मैं यहाँ पे इसमें एक्सेस कर सकता हूँ, और अब यहाँ से हमें क्रिएट करना है endpoint network interface. So let's do this. So what I did, I created SQS role to access the SQS services. So if I select my endpoint EC2 instance, I'm going to see then the security. I'm going to modify my role. I'm going to already have selected this one, and that's it. So now I will use this private instance to access the SQS services using the endpoint interface. So let's see if I can ping this. If I run this AWS minus SQS list dash QUESQs, so it won't respond. So I say you must specify the region. Let's see, AWS SQS, and I will see, copy and paste this one. Region is region US East 1, and still see it's not going anywhere. So the reason it's not going to anywhere, obviously we don't have created the network endpoint interface. So let's create that. So to create the endpoint, I have to go to VPC. In the VPC, you have to go to see under this virtual private cloud. As you can see, this is called endpoints. So go to the endpoints, and then we're going to create the endpoint. So this is going to be like AWS services. So here when somebody is offering the services, so when we create the end services, उस सर्विस के लिए जो कि जो प्रोवाइड की जा रही है, तो वो प्रोवाइडर को जब आप रिक्वेस्ट करते हो तो प्रोवाइडर हैज़ टू एक्सेप्ट दी request. So what happen when you are using the AWS services, तो इसे ऑटोमेटिकली एक्सेप्ट हो जाती है. तो प्राइवेट के लिए you have to send the request and the provider has to accept the request, but in AWS आपको वो खुद ऑटोमेटिकली एक्सेप्ट हो जाती है. सो हमारे केस में हमने SQS सर्विस यूज़ कर रहे हैं, जो कि इस AWS services provider, AWS is offering these services, so it's going to be automatically accepted. So I have selected my SQS services, and now I have the second thing is I have to select the VPC. This is my VPC, and then I have this availability zone. It is going to be my private IP address, private subnet, and let's see. So for the security group, I will leave with the default, and here I will have a full access, allow everything. Okay, so I can add the tag called name. So let's say SQS endpoint, and I'm going to create endpoint. The message was about this enabling this DNS and source name. I have to enable it. So this is the second is I'm going to see DNS resolution is already enabled. So that was the error about. So I'll go back to my VPC the endpoint. So here is endpoint. Create endpoint. So I have to do all over again because of the error. So SQS. So this is my services I'm going to use, and here it is my VPC. I already have selected my private subnet. I'm going to use the default, and I'm going to tag this one SQS and name, and this is going to create. So I have successfully created it's available right away. So this is my SQS endpoint. It's not, it's going to take a while. I have this subnet attached to this endpoint, so that's mean all the traffic from this subnet, इस सबनेट से सारी ट्रैफिक जो है वो एंड पॉइंट के थ्रू जाएगी. तो सी ही हैज़ बीन असाइंड IP address, private IP address to this endpoint. Security group I selected default. So it's pending. It will take like a while. I'm going to stop the video for a while until this comes up. So now my endpoint is ready. See, it's available. So let's go back to my command, and let's see this time if I can see the list of the queue. And one more thing, I just want to show you this status is available, and now it has already actually assigned the ENI, Elastic Network Interface. So this is the interface is going to use to route the traffic to the services, SQS services.